Good morning, everybody. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of Washington, D.C. We are in downtown Washington in the John A. Wilson building, our City Hall. I'm joined today by members of my team, members of the business community, Councilmember Brooke Pinto, Councilmember Anita Bonds, and former Mayor Anthony Williams. I want to give you an update on what we heard this morning from Ted Leonsis and the announcement regarding Virginia's plans to build a sports and entertainment complex in Alexandria. I want to be clear about something that we have been in serious talks with Monumental about staying in downtown Washington, staying in Chinatown. Over the last several days, you have seen the unanimous support of the DC Council. We have been responsive to Monumental throughout our process, and we have negotiated in good faith with them over the last several months. We have presented them with a series of offers that range from offers of 25 years and hundreds of millions of dollars to land deals, until the one that we shared with you, our last and best final offer, all-cash deal over 3 years totaling $500 million. We were grateful to be able to put that kind of cash on the table because of the careful way that we have managed our finances and our CFO recently refinancing our bonds that gave us more debt capacity. We know that our deal is the best. We think it's the best for Monumental, quite frankly. We know it's the best for our fans. We know it's the best for the city. And quite frankly, we think it's the best for the entire DMV. We are already united in the district. And quite frankly, sometimes we talk about the limitations of not having statehood, but there are some benefits. And one of them is we're fairly agile. There are 13 of us that make decisions about our budget, and we are united. The chairman and the council and I, with the council members, have discussed the expedited process for this bill, including a hearing early in the year and a vote as soon as February, which means that Monumental could have their dollars from the district as early as the spring. We're clearly not sure, and I'm not sure from what I heard this morning, what the Virginia process is, but we expect that it will hit some snags. And so on top of all of this, we are very committed that Washington, D.C. team should play in Washington, D.C. The National Landing Wizards doesn't quite have the same ring. So we know the history of Chinatown. We know Abe Poland's decision to take a bet on Washington, D.C. that paid off handsomely for him and for the current ownership. We know that in our city, we have been through very good times, the best of times, and some tough times. And some of those times are ripples in our history that we always overcome. We know that D.C. fans and D.C. residents are loyal and that they are disappointed today. And they are disappointed with Monumental's decisions, or as it appears to be their decisions, as am I. But already people have been contacting me volunteering to be a part of what's next. Senior told me just at our annual senior holiday event, remember, if a door closes, many others open. And that's exactly the conversations that we've had with members of our business community. I'm happy to see them here. And I'm happy to announce that in the coordination with the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, that I am tapping Jody McLean and Debbie Ratner-Salzberg to lead a task force on the future of Gallery Place Chinatown. Jody is the CEO of Eden's, and we all know how visionary and successful that she is in creating a DC neighborhood. The team, she is the leader of the team who in the past years has overseen the explosive growth of the Union Market District. And Debbie Ratner-Solzberg is the former chair of the Federal City Council. In her company, she and her company oversaw the explosive development of the yards in Southeast. These are women who know how to bring fantastic experiences for residents, business, and visitors, and quite frankly, create neighborhoods where there were different uses. So we know there's already a lot of momentum downtown. We see the changes happening, more people coming back to work, tourism and visitation rebounding. We already know we have the economic center of attraction that is very successful for Monumental currently in not only games, but in concerts and other large events that come to the Capital One Arena. So this is what I know about cities. People love real cities. They are hubs of history and culture and energy, and that will continue to be the case. People will continue to bet on cities and come to cities to experience real culture and history. And so we know we have great and vibrant neighborhoods across the district, Chinatown being one of our best. And we are completely behind a invigorated vision and investment to make sure that happens. So with that, I will take a few questions. Yes, please introduce yourself.
In layman's terms, would you mind delving into the financials as far as how we're able to finance this over the next 3 years?
Absolutely. So we, as you know, the district has a capital improvements plan. And I want to make sure I'm distinguishing that from our operating revenues and our operating budget. Our operating budget basically pays for programs and services, and our capital budget pays for buildings and infrastructure. And most of the infrastructure, including the stadiums that we have or the infrastructure that supported it, we borrow money to pay for them. And we also have a debt cap in the district, a local one, as well as a federal one, that limits the amount of borrowing that we can do. And we've been committed to our debt cap because it has allowed us to achieve very strong financials and a AAA bond rating. And so when we started these talks with Monumental, we were up against that cap and did not have a lot of cash that we were able to borrow before hitting the cap. That changed after the CFO did a recent refinancing because of changed interest rates and inflation numbers that gave us room to put that kind of cash on the table. Yes?
Mayor Bowser, you addressed the financials of the arena. However, we've heard from sources within the Monumental organization that there were two parts to this decision. One was the building, but also the persistent crime in Gallery Place in Chinatown. What did Monumental officials tell you or urge you to do in response to that? And do you feel at all that they have effectively given a slap in the face here?
Well, I would characterize what they said to us, and I happen to agree with it, that our experience with crime is kind of a blip. It's a phenomenon, and we can look back over the last several years and see a lot of contributing factors, but we will drive it down. So I don't know that they characterize it that way to us. I did have the opportunity to hear part of Ted's comments earlier, and what I was struck by was when he said he had goosebumps going and having the opportunity to build from scratch. So if, you know, I would say a lot about that comment. Now, there's a difference, and in our view, there's a difference to being committed to an urban arena and being interested in a suburban arena. We obviously think that urban arenas are more interesting, more fun, there are more opportunities for additional activities, and we think our fan base, also coming from around the region, likes that. Yes, Sam.
So, Mayor, did this hit you out of the blue? Because you said there was ongoing negotiations with the Monumental Group. Did it just hit you out of the blue? And Did you think this was a possibility while you were talking to them?
We've always known the type of possibility that they had in Virginia. We don't know the numbers, and I think after the event today, we still don't know the numbers. I didn't hear a lot of specifics, and I didn't hear any of you ask any questions about the specifics. So I think understanding the numbers will give us an idea of what we're up against. Virginia has clearly, they're going to drop a lot of money on that project, and they have that vacant parcel. Yeah.
Mayor, this is Michael Bryce from the Washington.
Yes, sir.
You talked about the urgency of this situation. So when you come up with a $500 million offer when Monumental was asking for $600 million, can you explain that discrepancy?
Like I said, Michael, we were able to carve out the amount of money with the recent debt capacity. And that was a number that the chairman and I agreed on.
And when exactly did you make that offer?
Sunday. And more than that, I should say, we also got some feedback that they were more interested in a non-debt solution for themselves. And I won't get into all of that, but they weren't interested in borrowing, as it turned out. It didn't start that way, but I think that's how it turned out.
So put into context, you created a sports team this year to explore how to keep the teams in the city, and now we're talking about 2 teams potentially leaving the district. What happened with the sports team effort that you started?
The sports team effort is underway, and it's on schedule. We had always separated the Monumental talks from like their talks because they were underway actually when I introduced the sports team. Yes, Mark.
Mayor Bowser, can you tell us if Mr. Leonsis and other officials with Monumental today said that their plan for Capital One is to bring the Mystics there, women's college basketball there, to do more entertainment there, they want to stay there. So I want to know your thoughts about that proposal for Monumental. And if I could just follow up on that, I'm sorry to interrupt you. But also, is the $500 million proposal that you and the council unanimously support, is that on the table if the Wizards and Caps are gone? Are you still willing to invest that kind of money into Capital One Arena if it stayed just a women's professional sports venue and not the Caps and Wizards?
Well, that's a fairly new concept that we've heard reported in the press. I have not had that conversation with Monumental. The offer on the table is to extend the lease and the requirements of the current lease for 25 years. And that is what the investment is for. We will, however, Mark, depending on which way, like we're still in the game on Monumental. I'm still going to work with the members of the council, and I think I'm going to recommend to the chairman. We talked just this morning about potential hearing dates, and if he's going to go forward with a hearing, I think he should, because I think they should have an approved proposal as soon as possible. But more than that, the investment that we've carved out should be for the downtown, and it should be for that parcel and how we bring that parcel back.
So could I just clarify? So would you still invest $500 million in that arena if the Caps and Wizards were not going to play there?
That is not what the proposal is, and that is not an ask that Monumental has made. I don't think they would be interested in that. Yes.
Matt Bearcat, Associated Press. If they intend to keep the Mystics there and sort of operate it as a rump or in this sort of halfway, does that thwart what you say, sort of the doors that could open for you in the future?
It should definitely be a part of the conversation. I don't think we should foreclose on any possibilities at this point. Yes.
Dan Stronovitz with Washington Business Journal.
Yes.
I'm wondering what happens with the ESA as part of all this.
The ESA, and this is part of the reason why I can't answer any questions about the Mystics, because the Mystics have a home court in Washington, D.C. So, as I said, I haven't had that conversation with Monumental. All right, I'm going to get to whoever hasn't asked a question, then we're going to move on.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth now. Does this put any pressure for the commanders to the district?
It doesn't change our position on the commanders, and my position on the commanders is clear. Yes.
Yeah,
Nate with Axios. I mean, DC sports fans are crushed, and I think a lot of people want to know, is there anything DC could have done more during these negotiations? And also, can I ask, do you think Ted Leonsis was negotiating in good faith with DC?
You know, I've known Ted a long time, and I think that everybody came to the table in good faith. I don't know if he came to the table knowing that his preference was for a suburban where he could start from scratch. I don't know that. But that's the only thing that I would say. Like he has a decision. Does he want an urban arena or a suburban arena? And we would argue that an urban arena is better.
Could DC have done anything more during negotiations?
Certainly, we believe that we put all of the money that we could on the table when we could, and we've been aggressive about it. Yes.
You mentioned fans who are crushed after hearing the news. You spoke to many business owners who were very fearful about the possibility of Caps 1 if the team's leaving as well. Any assurance you can offer to the businesses in downtown and Gallery Place who not only are hearing news of this today, but are also dealing with what we're hearing from Metro and shortages coming from Metro?
Sure, and thanks for raising that. So one thing I wanted to comment on just quickly, because there was really only one speaker that I heard this morning that was pretty candid and transparent about their process, and it was Senator Warner, when he said that today was step one. And I don't know that the community or the lawmakers, for that matter, have any details of what this process is. So that's why you will continue to hear me say that we're in this, because it's not done. He even recalled that how they've been at that point a couple of times before on that particular parcel, and it all fell apart. So we know how important Metro is and our transportation infrastructure is. And we believe that we have the best setup to move, 20,000 or 30,000 people in and out 80 to 100 times a year. And so I think that will be a big part of the conversation.
Assurances you can offer to business owners in the area?
I think that they should be assured by unanimity among the council and myself on investments in the downtown, and they can be clear about that. The other thing that they should be assured by is that this is not something that can happen tomorrow, that the city will be working with the current ownership over the next 5 years, I think, 3 to 5 years, on what's next. So there are opportunities for us to even test some ideas that come out. The downtown action plan that Dimped and Jaron and his team at the downtown bid are working on, I asked them to deliver us some recommendations like about now, so that they can be part of our budget discussion. So I think that's also very important, and that is what we will be committing to all of those businesses. Now, some other ideas could come up, Delia, and we have sometimes, when there's been construction or some other kind of distress, we may have a local program that could support that. But there's no change, let me be clear, in the immediate term.
To follow up on Delia's.
No, Tom.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to ask you a brief question about, you met with Ted Leonsis for some time yesterday. Was he as wishy-washy as you are making it sound? The process still has a lot of ways to go, and that he's decided to go there, but he recognizes it may not happen. Did he say anything like that?
I can't speak for him. You should talk to him. I know he was at a public event today. I did hear what he said.
And the other thing, on the same point, your administration and you have left it open like this. Well, there's a lot of ways to go in Virginia. It could fall apart in the city or in Richmond. All of the city council members from Alexandria were on the stage today.
I noticed that.
Last night, and Mayor Ewell, the former mayor, was there promoting it. He's still very powerful in Alexandria. These senior leaders of the Virginia legislature.
Tom, I can't handicap like Virginia. I can't. I have to leave that to you. Okay.
the Alexandria City Council's offered is the leadership of the Virginia legislature. Republicans and...
What's your question?
Well, I want to be clear.
Okay.
Where do you see this possibly falling apart?
I don't have any idea. But number one, I haven't seen the, no, it's not false hope. It's very practical. It's very practical.
All right. Can I ask you about the crime issue? You called it a blip. How long would this blip last? There's 1,000 carjackings almost, record homicides, no police officers on the street. When is the blip going to be over?
What, excuse me? No police officers on the street.
Hundreds short.
Oh, that is true. But we have more, excuse me, Tom, we have more than 3,300 men and women that protect our city each and every day. And I think it's a slap in their faces to say there are no police on the street.
Well, what about calling it a blip, that this crime wave is a blip?
Because I think in terms of the history of the district, we're going to look back and see that we had crime increases. I presided over crime increases in the time that I've been a city council member and mayor. And when we work together to have the right policies and enforcement in place, we drive crime down, and we will drive it down again. I did not mean to suggest that I don't think we have a serious situation. So let me clarify that if that's what you took from it. But I do want to put it in context of time and how we work to reduce crime, and we will do it again.
If I can, Kate Ryan.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
On the question about Metro, and again,
sure.
With all the dire cuts that they've outlined, Metro in DC has many coming into the area near the current arena. You have the blue and the yellow, and that's it out in Virginia. Was that ever part of the discussions with Mr. Leonsis on what he can expect out there versus here?
Well, we know what we could expect there with the traffic and the, like, I'm the DC mayor. I'm not a expert on their crime, but that traffic is notorious. So people know about it. And I think, which lines go to that station?
Blue and yellow.
Blue and yellow. So every line goes to Gallery Place, right? Red, blue, orange, and yellow. Yellow and green. Is that right? I think that's right.
Green and yellow.
Green and yellow, blue and orange, and red. Silver. So it is clearly you can come from all points of the region, and people have to that station. All right, you, I think, and everybody else has asked a question. Okay, here. Okay.
Second round. When you're talking about the fact that this is urban versus suburban, how can you compete with a district in Virginia compared to just the Capital One arena? So with your best and final offer, is there any plans to increase that money or change anything? Like, where are you getting this hope from?
If they come back to us and at a later time, we may be able to talk about something different. But if they want a campus style, it may take a couple of years, but we would have RFK and we would have the FBI. So there are multi-acre sites in the district that aren't fully available at this point, but they could be. Now, our interest, I have to emphasize, though, is in the downtown, and we think the best location for the teams is downtown. All right, you didn't get a question.
Do you know what exactly changed such that the CFO was able to refinance now versus earlier? Like, would he have been able to do this a few months ago when the deal with Virginia hadn't come?
Well, there were inflation numbers came out that were positive for the refinance. That, and I think even when he planned it, it wasn't as favorable, and then it became even more favorable. So it made the debt ceiling and the cap less of an issue for this type of investment. All right. Yes.
Yeah, Matt Delaney, Washington Times. I know you said it's the first step in a long process, but
I didn't say that. Mark Warner said that.
Right.
I was repeating it.
The fact that momentum seems to be taking them to Virginia, do you look at this all as a referendum on your leadership and the council's leadership over the past couple of years?
No, as I mentioned, and I'm just using the words that I heard earlier, is that the team has choices, and if they want an urban campus, they will make a choice for the district because we have put on the table what they need to make that happen. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll call it a day.
We can start. Every term of every politician that has ever existed has a high point and a low point.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There are a lot of sports fans that love these teams that live in the District of Columbia that are hurting today. How much of a low point is this today for you, and what do you say to those fans that took their kids to these games, saw circus concerts, have fond memories in that building, and today are looking at a future without it?
Well, what I would say to the fans is I share their disappointment in Monumental's decision. If there is a final decision or a deal, which I'm still not sure anything has been inked. And so we're very disappointed. But at the same time, we have to look at our assets. And we're talking about 5 acres in the center of the District of Columbia. It's a great asset. And we are going to think deeply and broadly about that vision, and we'll make the necessary investments to make it happen.
Is this a low point?
Certainly, we don't ever want to see a business go to one of our jurisdictions. We don't like to see jurisdictions trying to poach businesses from us, so it's disappointing. Yes.
Well, certainly Capital One, should they leave, would leave a huge gap in downtown. But I believe downtown has been struggling for some time with lots of businesses who have left because of the crime surge, others who didn't survive the pandemic. We know lots of businesses in the area have suffered. Why the task force now, when Capital One was at threat of we were at risk of losing that, and not before, to address the concerns that some of these business owners had?
Oh, Delia, we have a downtown, about 2 bids that are working on the downtown action plan.
How is this task force different?
It's different because it will be specifically about a vision for those 5 acres. And you've already heard me talk about how we have to change the mix of uses in downtown, and part of that change is to add 15,000 residents. Part of the experiences I described and the people who would be involved is kind of creating new residential areas where there weren't those types of uses previously. And I think that's how we're thinking about that 5 acres. And who was next? Mark? It was 4, and those 4. Okay.
Mayor Bowser, can you tell us if the Wizards, and I get it that there's nothing final yet, and a lot of things have to fall into place, but as somebody said, the momentum is heading.
Yes. Yes. I would. Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate it. If the Caps and the Wizards were to leave Washington, D.C., what would that mean to the tax revenue and the financial health of the city as a whole and downtown?
We know, and I can't break it out in terms of just the sports teams, but we think directly they kick off about $25 million in taxes. Indirectly, it's a lot more. And so what is important to us is that we keep it vibrant and active, that we use this transition period very smartly, and that we have a plan to enliven it if and when we see the teams leave. You have the last one, Michael.
I have 2. So on Monday, you said you were in lockstep with the chairman in terms of negotiations. How often did you 2 meet with Ted together on this, or Monumental on this?
What I mean by us being in lockstep was the last I think several back and forth we had with Monumental were joint between the chairman and I.
Okay. Why isn't he here?
He had another engagement.
Something more important than this?
Tom, excuse me.
There's been word since the summer, obviously, of Virginia's interest in the teams that are potentially moving. What would you say to those who argue your administration maybe didn't move with enough urgency or maybe underestimated that?
As I said, we move with great urgency. We've always taken it seriously, and we have put our best financial offers forward. when we were able. And so that's what I would say. And I think $500 million to drop over 3 years is not a small thing. $2 billion, if you believe, if we don't know how that's going to come up or what part of that is going to go to Monumental, is a big number.
Did the city underestimate Virginia's or Monumental's threat to leave to Virginia?
No. Thank you, everybody.
Can I ask one more?
No, we just finished.
Would the former mayor want to say anything
Tony
about?
Williams is here for baseball.
Do you have a question? What's your question? Mayor?
We're very excited, Federal City Council, we're very excited to be supporting the mayor and two of our members, Jody McLean, Debbie Radner-Salzberg, be working on this task force. And as the mayor said, this is part and parcel of our ongoing support for the bids and the mayor's downtown vision. So supporting the mayor all the way. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.